Guess I'm going first. So I don't present often. This is actually my first time, so bear with me. I used to be a fencing coach, and I'm a lot more comfortable working with students and giving them activities. So foreshadowing, there's going to be an activity for you all to participate in. All right, so the problem that I run into is that I solve process problems for small businesses. And the issue with that is you don't really realize they're there until you see a better way of doing things over and over and over again. And it makes you wonder, why am I still doing it this way when there's a better way of doing things? So that's a challenge that I run into. And the question is, how much time are you wasting in your own business this week? So a little bit about myself, Michael Grosse, founder of 217 Studios. It's basically a small consulting firm. I work with small businesses and creator of thewheeltree.com, which is the one that I'm here to talk to you about today, because that's kind of my new thing. All right, so my ideal entrepreneur day is everything's going smoothly. You have a clear view. You feel some accomplishment in what you're doing. Sometimes what it actually feels like is the picture down there where you're trying to keep all those plates spinning. That's usually an issue with processes falling apart. So a little bit about what I do. 217 Studios, I like to call it a goal-oriented studio because I solve goals for customers. They come to me with something they want to solve. I find a process that fixes the issue that's at the root of their problem, then I digitize it. So I give them an online portal, they log in, they can share resources with their teams, all that sort of good stuff. If you have a central office and people who are working remotely, everything gets managed from one central location, digitized processes. So it's pretty standard. There's a lot of people that do that sort of thing. The issue with it is it's not super scalable as an individual proprietor, LLC, is you can work with 3 to 5 clients at a time, helping them, and then if you want to scale, you can hire independent contractors and go up like a few rungs at a time. But the stuff that I learn and digitize can help way more people than that. So what I created is the Wheeltree is more of a public-facing turnkey app that anybody can use. So that's the one that I'm here to talk about mostly. It's just a little backstory on 217 Studios. Those are the core values, is shared value in what we create with our clients. Keeps them coming back. I have people I've worked with for 10 years or more that are, anytime they want something added to their system, they just come back because it makes more sense. Intuitive designs, because that's important for the user experience. Easy adaptability or adoptability, because you want people to be able to board pretty quickly. You want to shorten those learning curves as much as you can. And wide flexibility, because things change almost daily. And the wide flexibility is kind of the thing that created Wheeltrees. AI right now is changing everything. The physics of how you run a business have changed at a fundamental level. And I like to help people figure out how to apply that to what they do rather than get run over by it as it's coming by. All right, so those are the two things that I do. 217 Studios is the business. Wheeltree is the app that I'm here to talk about. And here's the demo that I mentioned as a coach. All right, so working with clients who have goals, I bring the process and I digitize it. There's goals, process, and context. Those are kind of the 3 things that interact with each other. So most people are familiar with goals. It is something you chase. So I'm going to give you all a goal right here. And I'm going to give you about 2 seconds to get that goal. I just want you all to breathe. All right, nobody dropped in. It worked. All right, so that's a goal. It's very simple. You achieved it. All right, so now instead of focusing on the goal, I want you to focus on a process. So where you are, put your feet flat on the ground, roll your shoulders up and back, relax them, and then imagine there's a string coming from the top of your head, going straight to the ceiling. You're kind of hanging from that string like a marionette doll. Now breathe. Anybody feel a difference there? It's a little bit easier. It's almost like your body wants to breathe that way. So that's what happens when you focus on a process. You don't have to care about the goal if your process is sound. It will get you there because that's what it's designed to do. So that's just a very basic example, not related to business, but applies to business, because there are a lot of processes or goals that you're chasing as an individual entrepreneur that are fundamental to what you do. And if you don't stop and question them every once in a while, how do you know that your process is still in line with the best, most optimized way to get there, to keep you as healthy as possible? So that's a goal, that's a process. And the bigger one is context, because you never really know where you're going if you just set a goal in a vacuum. Having context with where that goal places you in your surroundings, or if there's a harder step that's coming up, is really helpful to keep you on that right track. So the systems that I build, and the reason that my clients keep coming back to me, is because I have the context piece that isn't provided by just a Salesforce type company where it's every option under the sun thrown at you all at once, figure it out on your own, or get 6 months of development time to create something that I create it in a way that's useful in their own environment. The problem again is that these problems that I'm solving aren't obvious to the people that I'm solving them for. So it takes a conversation. There's a long runway to get those projects up and running. So chasing goals without checking your processes catches up to the best of us. And I've been doing this for a while, since like 2010. So it's really predictable, the ways that you identify these problems. These are the most common pain points. Get rid of that little screen sharing thing. Okay. Perfect, thank you. All right, so those are the most common things. Zombie feature bloat, knowledge silos, interface compatibility issues, scheduled maintenance neglect. It's always dangerous to ask the audience a question, but raise your hand if you've ever run into any one of those things. Okay, that's what I thought. So we didn't even need to read that slide. All right, so solution hunt. When you realize there is a problem in your process, where do you go to realign the steps that you're taking to get there? How do you discover a solution? How do you vet it? How do you do it in a time-efficient way? So this is the traditional map. Is for the longest time, you would go to a search engine, Google. You'd ask it a question, you get a list of results, and you all know how to use it. The results you get back, you have to vet on your own. You have to apply them to your own problem yourself. So that's a traditional way of doing things. The way that I mentioned the physics are changing is generative AI. So if you're not familiar with this, you can ask it a question specific to your use case. It'll generate an answer for you. You can ask it to do more with it with that same answer. It's really amazing. There's a lot of different tools out there. So it's new and it's exciting, but it also has some drawbacks to it that a lot of people aren't quite, realizing yet. So there's unvetted results. It's hard to preserve the tasks. That's the big one. If you have a generative AI create something for you and you want to do it like 20 times a day, it doesn't make sense to go back there and keep running through that same prompt 20 times. So there's a third solution, is low or no code platforms. These are things that are kind of a combination of the best of both worlds, where you don't have to hire a developer to create that process customized to your workflow. You can have it built once and it's repeatable, and it'll provide those results, and it'll interact with your different third parties. Like if you use Google or Teams or any kind of SaaS product, you can integrate them pretty easily. So there's good stuff with that, but there's also some issues with it. Feature bloat, they're expensive. It increases your reliance on third parties. They're hard to set up sometimes, and a lot of them require technical skills. And that is where I have positioned Wheeltree. That is kind of a combination of all of the best traits. All right, I'm learning. So Wheeltree is basically everything that I've done over the last 10 years for my clients, boiled down into a code base. It's a library of processes that I use that are common across industries. So there are some things that can only be built custom to you, but there's a ton of stuff you deal with day to day that is why reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of solutions that do it for you. So Wheeltree is my platform for doing that. And that is kind of the big change that I've made as a business, from working with just private clients where I can only work with 3 to 5 at a time, to turning it into a turnkey solution where I can help any number of businesses that need it. So that's it in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot more questions about use cases where it could be useful. So that's the end of the presentation.
Michael, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Can you give a specific use case that you had, just to make it more
Sure.
real? This is very abstract right now.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So I have a friend who is a teacher, and if you all know, education is very difficult to work in. There's a lot of stuff that's thrown on you, a lot of tasks you have to do throughout the day. You don't tend to be a tech savvy person, not to say that you're not, but to create a solution on your own would be super time consuming. So this friend of mine likes to send out emails to any student's parent who is in danger of, failing a class, so that there can be some kind of corrective action taken or plan put in place to keep them from dropping off the radar. But the problem is you have 20 to 50 students, you have to do it every 2 weeks on top of everything else that you're doing. You have to write the emails, you have to open your browser, go to the email, write a specific email to this person specifically, and it takes a long time. So it's easier to not do that consistently than to do it inconsistently, because then you have other problems. So I created a solution where you just go in, enter either a spreadsheet or a form if you want a one-off of the student's name, grade, class, automatically generates email, hit a button, copy it, goes right into your browser, send. Something that takes 20 minutes now takes a few seconds. So that's the sort of thing, the sort of problem that I can solve by putting a process in place.
They really sum things up pretty well. I used to be a management consultant. I was a productivity consultant, primarily working factories for Fortune 500 companies. The very first thing we did on the factory floor is find all the paperwork, all the reports are generated, and follow it. See where it goes, see who uses it. And it was unbelievable. We'd find factories been doing stuff for 30 years that nobody ever used. It was just wasting time, generating numbers that had no meaning whatsoever.
Yeah, it's incredible. Any business, any industry, same story. Rupert.
So as you know, I taught PMP and project management and so forth, but so I applaud what you're doing.
Thank you.
We desperately companies, especially startups, desperately need it. So my question to you though is you mentioned you're doing this as a consultant. So I'm assuming your business model at this point is to basically have contracts with customers. Are you on a retainer? Do you charge by hour? Do you charge by product, or what?
So the traditional way that I've done things through 217 Studios is the traditional consultancy, where I have individual clients. Some of the ones that I mentioned that I've been with for many years, you know what the runway looks like to that. I had to learn the entire business inside and out in order to digitize it. So I've been with people like that for a while. That is what is funding the creation of Wheeltree. It's already built, by the way. I have this up and running and working as built on top of AWS. It's infinitely scalable, all that good stuff. So I'm a DevOps engineer for people who are looking for the technical savvy.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does 217 mean?
That's a good question. There's all right, let's see. It's a long backstory, so I'm trying to condense it into the nutshell version. So basically, when I started high school, I was a pretty shy kid. Didn't really do all that much. Decided to join the track team and was immediately the slowest person on the team. So there's something about it that just connected with me. So I kept working and reading everything that I could find. This was, pre-internet. I'm a little older than I look. So I was reading all the magazines, Runner's World, Running Times, following all the stuff that they were given as advice. And then the older people on the team recognized that, I was putting in all this work. They gave me a chance to run against a star, athlete who was coming in to get a spot on a relay team. And they thought they were just putting me there to make him run faster. And it was a 2-lap race. After the first lap, they realized, oh crap, he's going to beat him. So it was that moment when all of the hard work that you put in behind the scenes that nobody sees, you get the opportunity to get out there and shine. And I always wanted to remember that. So that's what I named my company after. 217 is the time that I ran on that day to earn that spot.
How do you market yourself?
I don't really. Yeah, that's the problem. I have those clients that I've worked with, and I've basically just been kind of like a contract worker for the last, few years. COVID made it really difficult to get out there because I'm new to Orlando. I've only been here like 5 years, and how many of those were COVID?
Well, I can introduce you to some really good marketing people.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I used to do this for a living,
Mhm.
at, Northrop Grumman over on the coast, and we used a product from Siemens to do that. We're build, workflows for engineering,
Mhm.
solutions. So it would track a document from birth to death, basically.
Mhm.
Is that what you do? Do you create a system, or do you have a system, or do you use
Yeah.
a system?
It's industry agnostic, so it's not just for documents.
Uh-huh.
It's basically any request that a client has given me over the past 10 years. Like I preserve the know-how on how to do that. So you can create a document, you can track it, you can share it, you can have all that on it, but you can also do other things like operations management, HR, training modules, things like that. So if you want a new process to be taught to a lot of people quickly, you can create a module and have them do tests and quizzes within the framework. That's your question.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, is that something you develop or?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I develop it custom through 217 Studios, but Realtree is the version of that where it's doesn't have to be developed. It's just already there. So it's adding solutions one at a time as they get, released to the public.
At what point would you say someone should consider bringing you in? What are the signs that I have a problem and I should bring your 217 Studio in to help me solve?
Well, that one is more for established businesses that have processes in place that they know they need to optimize. Because it is a little bit more expensive than just getting a developer to, because you have to learn the whole business basically, or you have to learn the whole problem. So for more entrepreneur-based like startups, that's where Realtree comes in. Looking for people to test it out. So contact me from day one, because the real answer to that question is you should be considering your process from day one, from day zero. But if you get into a routine, you've built a habit that you have to unlearn. And then there's time that it takes to build a solution. There's time it takes to train whoever's going to use it. So the earlier, the better is what I would recommend. And even just having conversations is good because it can help you set your own thought processes in the right direction.
So I've been doing this for 30 years and I'll tell you, no offense to my fellow entrepreneurs, but they're not the most lucrative, target market startups. And small businesses for that matter. And the primary reason is that there's a group think that product is king.
Mhm.
And they completely ignore the fact that it's the process that makes the best products.
Yeah.
And so if they do by luck or by chance have a successful product, they're incapable of duplicating that success with another product because they were product focused and not process focused.
Right.
So what you're, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you've developed is a tool that utilizes AI to basically generate scripts, cross-platform scripts, so that it just performs tasks across different types of tools and other tools and things like that, and then and gets things done that way.
Yeah, so what you're describing is any low code or no code platform. There's a lot of those out there.
Yeah.
What I've developed is something that takes away the learning curve from those. So I'm not going to offer it as something that does anything for anybody on day one.
Right.
It's more, if you have certain things that you need done, this is the quickest way to do it. You don't have to think about it or doubt it because it's been proven. I've worked on stuff like this for 10 plus years. So I'm taking the most commonly requested features and putting them into one platform that people can use.
Mhm.
So the big piece that you mentioned is being able to talk to different systems. So that is kind of the big one at the beginning, where like your teacher friend as an example, they don't need that system to talk to other systems. So I'm starting very simple with tasks that can be automated to save time in a person's day.
Right.
But it has the capability as it grows to include those kinds of things.
Right.
So,
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk.
Question. So from what you've said, my brain goes to things like Asana
Mhm.
or Notion.
Yep.
From like a productivity or even potentially process,
Mhm.
or a Trainual or Process Street from like a get your SOPs inside of a
Yep.
place where you can share it with people.
Yep.
Is yours an intersection of those, a combination, or is it a competitor? Is it a complete new white space area?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think of it as a new space because a lot of those have a learning curve that come with it, and then you're locked in. So once you put your SOP in one platform, that thing that I was talking about earlier, where you have to recognize a problem, figure out a solution, train people on it. Like you have to do that anytime you want to switch from one to another. So I'm trying to avoid that sort of thing by taking on only the tasks that, nobody else tackles at the beginning, like this email issue. It sounds so simple as a product, but the power behind it is really incredible to help a lot of people. If you think of how many teachers there are, I have one friend who used it on day one. It's like, oh yeah, this could be useful, but duplicate that 1,000 times across any state. So that's the kind of thing that I'm tackling up front, and then growing as the conditions allow. Please.
I had two things. One, would you mind going back to your contact slide? And if anyone is interested in connecting with Michael after this, now would be the time to kind of like grab a quick picture, write that down. And then final question, what can we as a community do to help you?
That is a great question. It's actually been really helpful to hear your feedback, because the whole point of my slide was to generate conversation and kind of see what the business community would think of this sort of thing. It does exist. I'm looking for beta testers. So if you have a really simple task that takes you a long time and you think could be automated, get in touch with me. I'm looking for people to test out the first run. That's the big one.
Good time my shoes.
Maybe not today, maybe someday.
How about a phrase, bark up the right tree?
Yeah.
So you're looking for beta testers who have simple tasks and you can get to process them.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Incredible presentation. Thank you, Michael. Did I learn anything from that presentation, or was it just me? What?
Learn how to breathe.
How to breathe? It's the best breath I took all day. All right, we're going to transition into our next presentation. We are hearing from Peter.
Hi, everyone, while Vij is putting my presentation on, I'm gonna take this 5 seconds just to acknowledge Angela's presentation, which is, I don't know if she knows, this is totally neuroscience, because she uses something that is inside her brain. Our brain is so busy. So if you try to put some more information inside, it's really hard. She uses something that is inside her brain and just change it. So the brain welcome good mood. So she said, it's not Tangelo, it's not this, it's not that. So you're gonna remember her as you're gonna remember the relay story from her friend right here. So really, neuroscience applied to business is just about it. I'm gonna give you just the tip of the iceberg because the time doesn't allow me to do that much, but you didn't put on the first one. Okay.
Which one? No, the arrow on the keyboard.
Yeah, I was trying.
I think you need to click on the screen for there now.
No, yeah, there you go. So we buy emotions, but we justify with reason. What I'm talking about here. People love to buy, but hate to be sold. And we need to sell. So what should we do? Well, what's written right there by Jeffrey Dicklemer, not me, tells us that we hate sellers. The position of a salesperson. So what should we do in order to help our customers to understand that we're not just sellers, we're not just salespeople, we're not just trying to push products to them? Well, this is Zig Ziglar. Stop selling, start helping. How do you help your customer? Neuroscience brings information about that. Customers don't decide to products or services in your shop. Online, they decide inside the brain. So the only way to help them is to understand your and their brain. What Angela did was told by Napoleon Hill in 1925. He used to say, you need to know how your brain works. And if this operation is healthy enough, or you have to change. So, since our problem right now, we have an old brain in a modern society. What I'm talking about is, right now, we still go back to the caves when we got out, and our two mottos were survival and reproduction, which is survival of the genes. We go to our modern savannah called shopping centers, but men are going to hunt mammals. Women are going to collect. That is why women is more detail oriented. Try to ask your husband or your significant other to get a salt shaker. By the end of the day, when he's tired, it's in front of his face. He cannot see it because we don't have too much attention to details. If you understand what happens to our brain through evolution, you avoid to end up as a barcode. Because normally what we do, we just mix it up, we just blend, and we try to be conformed to what society tells us. But what differentiates us is our differences. If you embrace it, you're one of a kind. If you don't, you're just one more. And that's the reason to understand how your brain functions and how your customer's brain function. Why? Because 95% of a person's decisions are subconscious. Emotion is what really drives buying behaviors and also decision-making in general. This is not theater, this is Harvard Business School. 2002, Dr. Kahneman won a Nobel Prize of Economy with a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. Dr. Kahneman is a psychologist, not an economist. That tells a little bit about how the marketing is shifting and how you need to understand what goes inside. Then comes Simon Sinek said that 100% of your customers are people, 100% of your employees are people. If you don't understand people, you cannot even sell popcorn because you have to talk to people in order to sell. So we have to understand what's going inside our brain, and we have to understand what kind of emotion our customer comes to get. Our customer buy the best version of themselves using your product or your service. You need to understand what is it by making some good questions. So what is neurobusiness? It's the application of principles from neuroscience to business practices. Just about that. And what does it do? When neurobusiness companies can improve the decision-making processes, understand why I prefer this to that. And because of that, just take this factor from the equation and try to understand better that if I go and purchase something, I did all the research, then I talk to you and say, Peter, awesome, this is an awesome product, but it didn't work for me. I'm gonna have second thoughts. But I research everything from the product because he told me, he's a friend of mine, he told me, now I have second thoughts. So understand decision-making is, pivotal for a business. And you're gonna understand by your point of view, by your perspective. Enhance employee productivity and well-being. Have you ever heard about silent quitting? Have you ever heard about emotional salary? Nowadays, the Gen generation, the ones that come to your business, wants to be in a week wants to be a coordinator, in a month wants to be a supervisor, in 2 months wants to be a manager, and then in a year wants to get the business from you. Because they think that everything is a video game. If they master the levels, they can go through. That doesn't work like this. They have a lot of IQ. They don't have EQ. We need to provide EQ to them. And that's what I do. So I minimize turnover. I help, like, you told a great story. If I were you, I start with this story. But like Walt Disney, I worked for Disney for 10 years. Like Walt Disney used to say, I didn't invent theme parks. I elevate the experience. Just get your story, put in the context of your business, and elevate the story. Then you don't need to say, you don't need to put purpose, vision, mission, just tell the story. Disney tell a story every time they want somebody to do something, even to pick up trash from the floor. Just tell the story. It's easier than command somebody to do something. And that's your business. And create more effective marketing strategies. New marketing. Most of us say that we're gonna come to a Million Cups meeting. How many sign up for this week? You guys have the numbers, about around 100, something like that?
For 1 million cups.
Yeah, for this meeting, how many sign up?
I don't know how many RSVPs.
So normally we go for 25% to 10% attendance, because what we say is not what we do. Your marketing comes with EEG, fMRI, and tells you, yeah, you're not telling truth. The truth is different. They did for a Doritos advertise. They show a picture, or they show a movie where kids come closer to a bride, wipe down everything with the Doritos orange thing, and throw it on the dress. And everybody said, whoa, that's so bad. These kids are bad, blah, blah, blah. They put the fMRI and they realized that more than 50% really like it. But you're not gonna say it because the other ones are gonna perceive you as a, sorry my French, as a jerk. So we don't say what we think. And that's what neuroscience brings to the table. Tells you what you don't want to say.
We have 20 RSVP,
There you go.
so we need him to help us get more of those.
There you go. So guys, again, Simon Sinek, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Why you do it's on your story. It's not what you do. What you do, now you're a blank canvas, like me. But what you do can be replicated by somebody in time. But why you do it is different. People buy your DNA, not the business that you are in. You need to know your DNA. You need to know what differentiates you from the others. The marriage perspective is the perspective, find the best angle. If I do that, I need a chiropractic to take me out of this. But what is saying there, it's just like what Tony Robbins said. Change your focus and see your life change. Focus is auto-delete. Whatever you see, the rest disappears. We are bombarded by 11 million bits of information every single time. Our brain, we call neocortex, have the capability to absorb 40 to 60 bits. Our subconscious brain, especially the limbic system, is 200 times faster. The limbic system deals with emotions. So, you want people to remember you, put emotion to the information, like Angela just did. My name is Peter Roman. So remember me, remember the song Pretty Woman, but please, please, please change the lyrics. Peter Roman, walking down the street, Peter Roman, the guy I like to meet, Peter Roman. Next time you see me, you're gonna say, oh, Pretty Woman, oh, she's not a woman. Oh, Peter Roman. For a long time, I present myself as a fun consultant. People don't even know my name, but when they see me 2 months from the last meeting, say, oh, that's the fun consultant. That's all I need them to know. What I cause, what I bring to the table. Keep on and love neuroscience. Thank you, Jen.
You mentioned Tony Robbins, and it was that opening quote you had, that's how he taught the army how to shoot.
Mhm.
It's how they felt, not how they did it. And they won all the championships, and that was remarkable.
People, when I go to the companies, I teach them to build a culture if they allow me to, which is nothing more than story selling. And then I'll make them understand what they sell, which is the customer's perspective, the customer's intention or emotion when they purchase your product. But people stop when they realize what kind of emotion they sell. But it's their perspective, not the customer. You have to keep going until you understand what is peace of mind for your customer, not for yourself. So you have to go some steps further in order to understand what happens. Yes, sir.
It's a beautiful sense. And we get carried away with all these tools. I got an app, I got a website. Nobody cares. 7.9 million apps are there. Everyone knows there are 27,000 websites are created. We have nothing. So this is what it is all about. All the business is P2P, person to person.
Yeah.
Not the D2D and P2D, all those, no. It's right, 100% right. Emotion is the one to make a buying decision, and then logic takes over, say, hey, you did a good decision.
I never saw one wall pick up the phone and call the other wall from the other company. It's people. So if you don't understand people, and nowadays it's so important, like people understand HR as a department. HR is nothing but the resources that you bring from home to the company. It's our human resources, not theirs, not the company resources. People don't train their employees to understand their resources. That's my first thing when I train people. Recognize what kind of resources you bring to the table at this moment, because if you're not focused, don't accept a task that demands focus. That's for the deadline. And when you're better and focused, you start doing it. Otherwise, you're gonna need to redo it. This will create frustration for you, for your boss, and frustration brings pain, and pain brings. They said there's two things when pain hits: flight or fight. No, because you cannot run from a pain that is inside your brain. You cannot fight with yourself. If you start slapping yourself, probably they're gonna send you to the hospice or something like that. So the third one is to freeze. How many frozen people in our company do we have? Yes, Josh.
So I hope everyone's taking notes. This is absolutely gold. In fact, even last week I was speaking on how to answer the question, what do you do? For an hour, I was teaching an audience, and not once did we bring up product or service. So everything you say is absolutely spot on. Who's in your heart to serve? Specifically, who do you enjoy most working with?
Well, people that really does have the same problem that I just said, human resources. Like you asked a specific case. I have two. I have Camila's, which is the best Brazilian restaurant, or the most Brazilian restaurant in the south of US. When I started with them, they were 3 stars and TripAdvisor. They had 5 for the last 10 years. So the story behind that nobody told is that the 2 guys that bought the restaurant, one starts as a dishwasher and the other one as a table server. But that tells to everybody, I'm a dishwasher, but if I listen to what he's saying, I can be the owner of a restaurant later. Why don't you tell this story? And that's what we did. And then from the story, we created a lot of all the processes, all vision, mission, values, because inside our brain, there is no room for words or numbers, only images. The best way to create an image is to tell a story, right?
You knocked it out of the park right from the start when you said, stop selling, start helping.
Yeah, exactly.
When you go in and meet somebody, they're not gonna buy anything from them they don't like to begin with, and they're gonna size you up. If you're a salesperson, they don't wanna hear what you're gonna say. If they think you're there to help them, it's different. And that's what they want.
Yeah.
So you have to present yourself, I wanna help you, this is how I'm gonna help.
I went to Jiffy Lube. And I have a problem with my axe. And they didn't, they took the everything out and they realized they didn't have the spare part. So they sent it to a competitor, but they opened the sale and they closed because hour after they called me to see if everything was right. And I still don't remember the other guy. But I remember you. So that's how you add emotion, that's how you add some value to the information. That's it, guys. Thank you.
One more question for you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Very inspiring. Makes me think about like the things I might be overlooking in my processes and my business, and I was just
Which is being
wondering.
human.
Being human. Well, that's the thing about being human, you know, you do it long enough, you forget that you're doing it. And it takes conversations like this to kind of pull you out and think, all right, where can we be more efficient? Where can we improve things? And so thank you for such a wonderful piece. And what can we as a community do to help you?
So my customers, because of my ticket, comes with a one-on-one or word of mouth. So if you guys can help me to present in more spaces and more business meetings, that would be awesome. Like Jenna did last week, telling that she needs more people to present. So that's what I need, because I told you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much below, but I don't have time to present all in once. So I need to go for explaining what I do and how can I help companies. But then you see, I don't even have my contact here. And if I don't tell you that, you're not gonna search for it, because, but I didn't put my slide with my contact here because I had 6 minutes to present. I thought it was 10. So when I got here, I started deleting his slides. Like, okay, delete. That's what it is. Yeah, thank you.
And how can we find your business online?
Okay, I have old business cards. No, they're new, they're shiny, but they're old because we don't use to touch things. But one thing that we don't realize too much, we just use 2 of our 5 senses. When you touch something, you're using the 3rd. When you smell something, you use the 4th. When you taste something, you use the 5th. If you use all 5, then your information will kick in.
You get this out.
Yeah. So come and get my card.
That's interesting. So let's make business cards out of something you can eat that's good.
Alrighty, so we have approximately 2 minutes and 30 seconds left of our meeting. And I want to thank you all for coming here this Wednesday morning. You all got up early, you got in your cars, and you made an effort to connect with the local entrepreneurial community. And I just want to congratulate everyone for doing that really quick. Yes.
Yeah, brief announcement, next week, after 1 million cups in this room, I'll be teaching my next monthly class on business ethics based on Stoicism. Most of you already know I'm Stoic Dan, your local philosopher, and it's a monthly program. So next week, Wednesday, 11 o'clock in this room.
If you can share in about 10 seconds, do we have anyone else who'd like to make an announcement or share or ask for help? 10 seconds.
So Orlandopreneur on meetup.com, we have our monthly happy hour. Anybody who's been to it? All right, thank you for coming. So sign up on meetup.com, Orlandopreneur. The next one's April 17th at Orange County Brewing in Lake Mary.
This Friday at Alafaya Trail, I'm gonna have my second meeting with the Lime Bowl. I'm the ambassador of the chapter Alafaya, Orlando Alafaya. So if you guys want to know a little bit about the 5 senses, I call this meeting, if the whole world was blind, how do you go about selling your product?
I'm not there for Deja for taking over and stepping up.
Anyone else? Any other shares? Sheila.
I will be presenting next week from.
If
Yeah,
anybody,
you did great.
if anybody's been here, 4 times, 8 times, 12 times, and they want their swag, just come up and we got it for you.
I want to share with you guys something. You must have watched Karama competition recently. The one I'm wearing here, Meta Humans game number 3. But number 3, 3 out of 83. I want you guys to know. And he never ever presented before. Look at that. He came here about 3 months ago. Presented in 1 slide. That's it.
Have a slide, you even have a slide.
No, that's it. Oh. Noted. That's my passion. I bring out big games, top 3 and out of 83. And he was in front of all you guys and all over the globe. You can do it. He did it. And I just wanted to know that. Anybody can do it.
Thank you for joining us at One Million Cups for Orlando. Connect with each other, have coffee, and let's help build stronger entrepreneurial people.
Oh, sure.
Join us next week.